Every good artist is what he paints. That is how the work of Jackson Pollock, the American famed artist and abstract expressionist, that's how his work was described. Now, that's not, I mentioned that previously he's mentioned as an abstract expressionist, but that's not how he would label himself. He was known for kind of creating his own path in the art world his work was made differently than the rest due to its randomness and different formalities. His methods were considered unorthodox at the time, which was between the early 1900s to the late 1950s, where he eventually passed away. His methods included dripping paint onto a blank canvas and letting the artwork form in itself. He used a mixture of colors, paints, dyes, and different techniques, all sorts of other techniques to form his artwork. He was often criticized for these methods due to their randomness, while some others praised him for the rapidness that his artwork was made in. Now, the thing I find interesting about how he went about creating this work was it often took him weeks to form one single canvas. He took a lot of time to study his artwork and plan what his next move would be. So he would start by possibly dripping a little bit of paint on one half of the canvas, and then a couple weeks later he would add another layer to it, and that's kind of how his work was formed. He took a lot of consideration into the stuff he made despite the random look to it. And the beauty behind that is a lot of his fans were able to come up with their own interpretation of what they saw in his artwork. One thing that he would admit to was that much of his work resembled himself in the sense that it meant isolation and the self-containment that he felt like he was going through in his head all the time. He always felt like his work was an expression of him and how he felt. And the beauty behind that was you couldn't really ever tell. And so that was kind of the neat thing behind it. He met another famous painter midway through his life named Lee Krasner, and she was the only people that he felt like was accepting of him despite his social awkwardness and other flaws that he suffered through in life. Pollock had a lot of issues with depression and social anxiety that may have held him back at a lot of points in his career, although when he met Krasner, she was able to help guide him through a lot. But even with her guidance, he still found himself being admitted into a psychiatric hospital where he had to seek further help for his mental conditions. And the interesting thing about that was the people that were helping him would often use his abstract work to help him work through his emotions and find meaning in whatever it was he needed to. And so that was kind of the cool thing about his work. And unfortunately, they never seemed to be enough for him later on in life because he went on to die of a horrific car crash that was alcohol related in 1956. But despite his mishaps and unfortunate events, his work went to inspire many that came after him. So yeah.